Hi and welcome to the first video on a series of videos that I will be doing on how to fully show up. I am not yet certain how many of these videos I will do, mainly because I feel as though I've spent my entire lifetime, well, certainly my adult lifetime, working out what it means to fully show up and how to do it. Within these videos will be a series of techniques, traditions, practices that I have felt have benefited me, and I hope that they benefit you too. So the number of videos that I do will totally depend on how we feel that this benefits each other. And the first video, I'd like to talk about the idea of ego. Now, I've been a practitioner of meditation, and meditation was my very first practice within this work of well-being for about 24 years. And the first 10 years of that practice were very much based on the teachings of the traditional masters about taming the ego or eliminating the ego. And although I understand what these teachings are attempting to get across to us, I often find within this work that human translation often leads to human error. And so this is why I don't think you should tame the ego or even attempt to eliminate it. Ego is designed to keep us alive. Ego wakes us up in the morning to get us to work, to pay our bills, to buy our food in order to survive. Ego will inform us, maybe don't walk down this street at this time of night. Maybe avoid that relationship because you know what happened last time. Ego wants us to stay alive. And because of that, it is a damn good reason, a blessed good reason, to be friends with your ego. Now take a walk on the wild side with me for a moment. A long time ago, before you were manifested in this physical form, you were pure essence, doing what pure essence does out there in the universe that only the universe can truly know about. And across the way, there was this other, let's call it a being for a moment. Across the way, there was this being, and you both spotted each other. You liked the look of each other. You were attracted to each other. And then you decided, I want to marry you. And in that moment of marrying, your essence and the ego marrying, there is conception. And there you are born in this human form. And there are several moments in our lives when we are hitting anxiety, distress, discomfort, and we don't want this anymore. And we're like, ego, I want a divorce and I want it now. I'm going to do a course that's going to enable me to channel my inner divorce lawyer, and that's it, we're done. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't work like that. Ego is here because it wants you to survive. Wrap your head around that for a moment. And then, when you become friends with ego, you're actually then able to access the gifts of your trauma. So let's talk about being friends with your ego for a moment. Imagine your partner or a super close friend. And in those moments where there is discomfort or anxiety or unease, unless you have very good reason to leave this relationship, but in those other moments that we're talking about right here, right now, you don't then just drop your friend. You don't just drop this relationship just because they're not happy with the current view, the current situation, this party that you're at, this holiday that you're at, this experience that you're having. You don't drop your friend or your beloved in that moment. What you do is you do two things. You challenge them and then you encourage them. You convince them, actually, you know what? This is a really nice thing. Why don't you try this as well? Why don't you take a look at that? And also you challenge them like, are you really tired? Do you really want to go? Do you really want to waste all the effort of getting here? And then this relationship builds, and then ego feels your loyalty. And in the loyalty that you have with each other, you're then able to receive and bring out and share with the world, with your world, the gifts of your traumas. So here's my story of that. When I was born into a Chinese Vietnamese family, and I was the eldest of the eldest, which meant that I had to be, for some reason, meant that I had to be porcelain white and round. And as long as I was porcelain white and round, then my grandparents and my parents were highly esteemed. They were abundant people. They had prosperity. I, however, developed two things. One is an eating disorder. Secondly is self-loathing, which led to body dysmorphia. These two things I will probably have for the rest of my life. They're things that used to haunt me, but no longer haunt me. They are now actually gifts that I like to share. So when I got to my teenage years, I started to identify with the rest of the world, I realized, shit, I need to do something with my body. So I exercised as well as I ate, which meant I did a shitload of exercise, and I also purged. I had bulimia. I purged a lot of my meals out. And even if they weren't fully purged out, even purging out half or 3/4 of it felt that actually I was now in a more balanced state in who I am as an individual and the rest of the world. And so as a result of very unhealthily losing weight, I was left with excessive loose skin. And 2 occasions in my life I've been in a surgeon's office. The first time, I don't really want to go into too much detail of that because I didn't really resonate with the surgeon. I didn't really get the impression that he liked me or his job or maybe himself. So that was the end of that. And I went away for a few years, continuing to work on myself until the trauma of self-loathing arose again, until I recognized that I wasn't enough again. When that stuff haunted me again, I decided to visit another surgeon. And luckily this time I had visited a surgeon who was also a yogi. And she asked me, like, why are you here? And when I took my clothes off and showed her, she went, okay, I get that you're here, but here are 100 reasons why you should not have this surgery. And some of those reasons included why she was doing this work, which was essentially to fund her studies and also to voluntarily give cleft palate surgeries to kids in Africa. So then I left this clinic and I realized, shit, I really don't know what to do now. And what am I left with? I'm left with me and ego. And so for several years after that, we decided to become even closer friends. And what I mean by that is when I went to work as a yoga teacher or as a therapist, I wouldn't wear black clothes anymore. I wouldn't do my best to sit in a certain way or demonstrate in a certain way that would hide my excessive skin. I wouldn't dim down. I wouldn't dumb down, and I wouldn't become small. And during this long process, and there were moments when I felt as though I had to force myself to love and accept myself. And I'm really glad I did, actually, because now what has come from that is the gift from this trauma is that I'm able to connect to other people that I wasn't connecting to before. I'm able to use the gifts of this trauma to be more accessible to the people that I work with. And it's also given me an opportunity to birth my own niche of doing this work into the world. Well, my suggestion is, in those moments when ego acts up, like you feel anxiety, distress, and you're freaking the fuck out and you want to get out of here, just take yourself somewhere for a moment, close your eyes. And you have to close your eyes because ego is the unconscious, the subconscious, which is inside of your body. Open your eyes won't really help. That will keep you in the conscious level, and you can't deal with the subconscious from the place of the conscious. You've got to go inside. So close your eyes and start to breathe very deeply, very steadily. And eventually you will feel calm. And when you feel calm, that's when you know ego is being held. Ego feels held. Ego will reject this. Ego doesn't reject this. Ego acts out when it doesn't feel held. And then once you've held it for a while, ask it, what do you want? What do you need? And even if you don't follow up with giving it what it wants, like, I want to get out of here now, I want to go home, whatever. Even if you don't follow up with it like that, you are establishing rapport with it. You're building a relationship. And you can't become close until you build a relationship. And then once you have formed a really close relationship with your ego, then there will be what feels like to me a castle full of pearls, full of treasures, full of gifts that have only come from my experiences of trauma. And the only part of me that knows my trauma is my ego.